Hey everyone, it's Jenny from the channel The Story Ain't Over, and I'm here today for another episode of Hashtag Epic Book Recs. So if you don't know, Hashtag Epic Book Recs is a monthly series that I host here on the Epic Reads channel, where I recommend some books based on a certain theme for all of you to read and enjoy, because I have read and loved them so much, so I want to share the love with you. So I've done a bunch of themes over the course of this series, and they have focused mainly on YA contemporaries, but from here on out I think I'm going to be branching out more to show you some more fantasy and sci-fi and mystery and other genres in the YA category. So today's theme is one that I'm super excited about. It means a lot to me, and reading every single one of these books this month was just so heartwarming because I loved every single one of the characters in these books. And so today's theme, which you probably already know from the title of this video, is girl power. So all of the books that I chose today feature girls as the main characters, girls who are in different walks of life, in different situations, confronting the challenges that they face because of their gender identity, but also trying to make the best of their lives and just being awesome, amazing women along the way. So I wanted to celebrate that, and I wanted to share all of these amazing books with you today. So without further ado, let's just get right into the books. The first book that I have for you today is probably my favorite on this list, and that is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. So I've read Elizabeth Acevedo's first book, The Poet X, and I absolutely loved it. It is a book told in verse, and it is just so strong and powerful, and With the Fire on High is no different. It is not told in verse like the other one. It is told in full-on narrative, so that was a little bit different, but it was still so poetic and just so great. I love this book so much. Basically, it follows our main character, Imani Santiago, who is a teen mother. So she got pregnant when she was in 9th grade, and she decided to keep the baby, and she has been raising her daughter for the past few years. The book opens with her starting her last year of high school, and she lives with her abuela, and her life has mainly been composed of caring for her daughter, being with her abuela, and also doing the thing that she loves the most in the world, which is cooking. So Imani is an amazing cook. She can evoke such feeling from every person that eats her food, and that really shine through on the page for me. There are some recipes thrown in here, really amazing, lush descriptions of food that Imani is making for people, and she ends up in a cooking class as well at her school, and there's just a lot of great things going on in this book. There's also a bit of a romance as well. I just love this book so much. It was such a quick read, but it was also really deep and thought-provoking, and really confronts the way we view teen mothers. Seeing Imani care for her daughter and the relationship that she had with her abuela, but also the friendship that she has with her best friend and also the other people that she makes friends with at school, is just so heartwarming, and I loved it so much. So I want to share a quote from the book with you today. "The world is a turntable that never stops spinning. As humans, we merely choose the tracks we want to sit out and the ones that inspire us to dance." I absolutely love that quote. It's just so beautiful and thought-provoking and just really sums up what life is like. But overall, I just really love this book, and I definitely think you will benefit from picking it up. If you're looking for a book with a strong young main character who is trying her hardest to do her best for herself and for the people around her, then this is definitely the book for you. The next book that I have for you today kind of delves into the fantasy horror-ish genre, and that is Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. So I picked this up pretty recently, and I'm so glad I did because it was such a crazy fun ride. This is definitely a book that doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that that was such a high point to it. So Undead Girl Gang follows her main character Mila Flores, who is reeling from the sudden news that her best friend has committed suicide. So her best friend's name is Riley, and Riley and Mila are basically inseparable, but the book opens up with Mila attending Riley's funeral after she commits suicide. But Mila doesn't actually believe this. There was previously 2 other girls who committed suicide as well, and people are kind of lumping these 3 people who have just died into a suicide pact between these girls, but Mila doesn't believe that. She knows that those girls weren't close. She knows that it doesn't make sense. But the thing you find out as you read the book is that Mila is a witch. Her and Riley are Wiccans, and they have been practicing magic. They've been trying spells for most of their adolescence. And so when Riley dies and Mila doesn't know why, she decides to bring Riley back in order to find out what happened to her and why she died. She believes that Riley didn't commit suicide, but that she was actually murdered, and she is determined to find the murderer and take revenge. And so Mila does end up bringing Riley back to life for 7 days, including the 2 other girls who died before, who were kind of the popular mean girls that Mila did not like. This is kind of like a cross between Mean Girls and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it is honestly just so much fun. I loved seeing the relationship between the girls in this book. That was such a strong strong point in this book. You see the highs and lows of their relationship, see how each of the girls is very different and goes through different struggles, and you see how their opinions of each other change and grow and evolve. I definitely recommend this if you're looking for a girl power book. It is just tons of fun, and if you were looking for something with a little bit more occult and supernatural and fun fantasy stuff, then this is definitely the book for you. Okay, the next book that I have for you today is We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mejia. So this book is actually a Latinx inspired fantasy, and it is a duology, so there's another book coming out, but this is the first one, and it is honestly just so cool. It follows our main character Danny, who is from the fringes of society, but she somehow manages to get illegal papers to come into the center of the city where all of the rich and powerful live in order to climb her way to the top. And she attends this school called Medio School for Girls, and it's a school where girls are trained to take on one of two polarizing roles in this high class society. So you can either be a primera or a segunda, and they each have their own separate roles in the household and towards caring for their husband. So the book begins with Danny close to graduation at Medio School for Girls, and she is about to be married off, and she is about to take her new role in society, but she is well aware of the secret that she is from the fringes of society and that she shouldn't be where she is, and that if anyone found out, she would be done for. And so she's hiding this terrifying secret while also chafing under the expectations of her society, and she ends up in a situation where she forms an unlikely romance, and it was honestly such a beautiful thing in this book. This is not really a spoiler, but there is a FF romance, so female-female romance in this book, and it was such a beautiful example of queer resistance. So I definitely recommend this. It was such a interesting feminist take in a vibrant Latinx inspired world. Alright, the next book that I have for you today is a little bit on the heavier side, but it was honestly such a impactful read, and I cannot recommend it enough, and that is The Female of the Species by Mindy McGinnis. This is a book that is like a punch to the gut. I read this in a single sitting, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it afterwards. This is a book that examines, rape culture and slut shaming, and really dives into those subjects. And it also really discusses the consequences of being complacent. This book takes three perspectives. The first is Alex Craft, whose sister was brutally raped and murdered, and Alex is kind of reeling from that trauma of knowing what happened to her sister and finds herself expressing her rage for the world in violence. The second perspective follows a boy at Alex Craft's school named Jack Fisher, a boy who finds himself fascinated by Alex Craft and finds himself wanting to change and be a better person because of the role that he played in Alex Craft's sister's death. The last perspective that we have is of PK, who is the preacher's kid. She is chafing under the label of being the preacher's kid and all the expectations and stereotypes that people place on her. But she forms an unlikely friendship with Alex Craft, and so the three of them are kind of revolving around each other, and it is such a interesting, thrilling read. Although this book is mainly a contemporary, it does read kind of like a thriller, and that was one of the really interesting and page-turning aspects of this book. I loved it so much, and I really think that you should pick it up. Regardless if you think you will like it, I definitely think it's one of those books that you can come out of having learned a lot and, thought about a lot. Alright, and the last book that I have for you today is Hello Girls by Brittany Cavallaro and Emily Henry. So if you've seen the previous Epic Book Recs video, you know I love Brittany Cavallaro's books. She wrote the Charlotte Holmes series, and so this is another book that she co-wrote with Emily Henry. So this book is basically kind of a Thelma and Louise road trip, girls trip story, and it is honestly so much fun, but also a crazy, wild ride. This book went in places that I did not expect, and I just loved every moment of it. Hello Girls follows her two main characters, Winona Olson and Lucille Price. So the two of them come from very different walks of life. Winona lives this very sheltered life under the parentage of her father, Stormy Olson, who is this big shot weatherman that everyone loves around town, but he is secretly not the man that people think he is, and she is just honestly trying to find her way to escape. Lucille, on the other hand, comes from generations of barely getting by. She's struggling to go to school and also continue with the jobs that help her pay the bills and provide for her mother, while also having to deal with her drug-dealing brother, and she just wants to get away as well. And so Winona and Lucille end up meeting in unlikely circumstances and form a really strong bond. And so the two of them have a plan to get away from their respective horrible situations as soon as high school is over. But when some unexpected things happen with only a few months left of high school, the two of them end up taking their road trip early and encounter some really crazy obstacles along the way. There's robberies and hijinks and disguises along the way, and honestly this was just such a crazy wild ride. There was a lot of twists and turns, and at times it definitely felt like a dark comedy. But overall, this is a book about friendship and female power, and it was just honestly so heartwarming to see. I absolutely loved it, and I definitely think you should pick it up as well. Alright, so those are all the books that I have to share with you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video and that you have found a new book to add to your TBR. As always, I love recommending books to you guys, but I also love it when you recommend your favorite books to me. So please let me know some girl power books that you have to share with me and for the other people watching in the comments down below. But that's about all I have to say, so thank you so much for watching. I'm Jenny from the channel This Story Ain't Over, and I will see you in the next episode of #EpicBookRecs. Bye!